Verstappen takes the lead in the driver's title. Turn 4 windier than nursing home and beans night. Aston Martin copy Redbulls homework and get an F. Welcome to the Late Night Race Review.
It's Monday, the 23rd of May. Thanks for joining us here on the Late Night Race Review. I'm Dave Jericho, and with me, as always, banned from his local church for asking the congregation, "Hey, baby, you like my Speedos?" It's Mr. Owen Scott. If you like your Formula One news and reviews a day late, and with the variety only matched by Scotty's Speedo drawer, then you've come to the right place. Coming up on this week's episode, we take a look back at the Spanish Grand Prix, how the upgrades performed and what it means for the races still to come. Also, we look forward to the Monaco Grand Prix and, most importantly, our predictions. As always, your support for the cast is much appreciated, so get hitting those like and follow buttons on social media and get sharing with your friends. Now, it's time to hand it over to Scotty and get on with the show.
Evening, Dave. How are you keeping?
Not too bad, Scotty. Not too bad.
Good. I really enjoyed this weekend. I think so far the Spanish Grand Prix, in terms of what it actually had within it, has been my favorite so far. I'm really happy with it. But let's dive straight in, and we'll have a talk about a Spaniard to start off as well, Carlos Sainz. And we've had a kind of a back and forth in the last few weeks about Carlos and where he stands with Ferrari, and he gave us another little seed of doubt. He planted one there on I think it was lap 7 with an early spin out, but he managed to battle his way back to a decent P4 finish. Is this now becoming a trend with Carlos, do you think, the spinning out and dodgy decisions, or do you think his bad luck is turning around now?
I think it is definitely a lot of bad luck. I mean, his spin out on turn 4 was, Max Verstappen had that spin out as well on the exact same corner, which looks largely due to, I think it was a tailwind, gusting tailwind or something like that coming into that corner. Whether they just both got unfortunate with the timing of those gusts of wind as they approached that corner, I don't know. But yeah, a little unlucky. But that being said, I think a fairly solid recovery drive, though. And I mean, to finish up there in P4, I'll be honest, I didn't think that was going to happen. I mean, we're going to talk about predictions later on in the show, but you know what I was thinking of Carlos Sainz for this week, and I thought my dreams were coming true.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I felt bad for him, but a great recovery drive. He got unlucky with the where he went off as well, and the fact that it was a gravel trap. They reckon he damaged a good portion of the floor on the gravel. Now they reckon that he was losing a second per lap due to that damage, but I'll be honest, I don't think like a second per lap would have put him in sort of astronomical numbers, I think. So but look, I think he would have been more competitive and a great recovery. So but I think he's possibly, we're still there looking at him as a poor number 2 at the moment, unfortunately, sad to say.
Yeah. And even though he is kind of more looking like the number 2 driver at Ferrari, that recovery on Sunday does kind of give you the hope that that champion driver is in there. It's such a strong drive, and I'm hopeful for what is to come for Carlos. But again, the clock is always ticking away there in the corner in Formula One, isn't it?
Yeah, the potential's there. Look, everybody knows it's there, and like I said, whether this is bad luck, combination of bad luck, the car he's not enjoying the cars, but I mean, we saw even last season, like Charles and Carlos were more on par with each other, and you would have been doing well to split the two as to who would have been the number 1 and number 2. Whereas this season now, like I said, due to bad luck and what have you, it's getting a bit more clear. So when I say poor number 2, I mean also like it's just the results wise, like there is a driver in there that can get results. Just unfortunately, they're not happening for him.
Yeah. I mean, well, we've had 6 races now, and this unfortunately this bad luck streak seems to be follow him around the place, and hopefully it doesn't follow him to Monaco next week. We'll
Because
have a little chat.
that's Charles Leclerc's that's Charles
Yeah,
Leclerc's
yeah.
bad luck.
Well, Charles. Speaking of Charles, he had a spin off in. He was in Monaco? Was it last week?
Oh yeah, in Nicky Lauda's car.
Yeah, yeah. So he's had his bad luck spin, and he's had bad luck now at Spain as well. So I think he's used it all up now.
I don't know. I still think that look. I don't let's not deviate too far here, but I think maybe he's still over eager, and I think as it's his home race, he gets over eager, sends it down a corner through a chicane that's just a little bit too aggressive, and then before you know it, you're in a wall or you've taken your front wing off or something like that. So I just think that there's that mistake in him still.
Yeah.
Like we only saw from qualifying there over the weekend, sort of that chicane coming up to the final turn, and he lost the rear end on Q3.
Yeah,
and it's just that type of thing. He just pushes it a little too hard on certain areas of the track, and then, like I said, these cars are unforgiving. So that slightest mistake and you've lost it. He got lucky though; he was able to recover and put in one hell of a stellar lap to gather up a pole position though.
I'm sensing some foreshadowing going on for the predictions later on, but I'm learning to read you a little bit better. But yeah. Speaking of Charles, his the qualifying lap was just phenomenal, and he a large part of when the Ferrari was working, he very much looked nailed on to win that race pretty easily.
Yeah, I think so. It really did, didn't it? I mean, I didn't see, the only thing I was waiting on was tires to start peeling off the car. I mean, that's just something I don't think, although we saw with Sainz, I think Sainz managed to keep his tires. I mean, like I said, he brought it back to P4, and plus it was I think everybody did at least 3 stop, didn't they? I don't think there was anybody that did. I think they all did 3 stops, did they? I'd have to check that now. I could be talking out of my backside, but I think they did.
Check, come back.
So I mean, maybe that's not a good comparison because they were fairly regular rotation of the tires. But unfortunately, we didn't get to see. He had a great start to the race, and then the turbo and the MGUH gave out on him, which was funny. Like I saw when I was watching the onboard in the replay, and you could hear the car in the replay from the onboard. And you could hear the turbo spooling down, and that kind of whirring as it was winding down. And I was listening to it, going, "Geez, that's unusual." Like, and Martin Brundle's talking about, "Oh, he's able to change gears and stuff like that." And you're kind of like, "That has got to be the turbo." I'm like, it was as clear as day that there was something with the turbo. But again, we still don't know exactly what the issue was with the turbo and the MGUH. But they reckon that it's toast anyway, and those parts are being replaced.
Right. And Ferrari upgrades for Spain, nothing around that area. It was all to do with aero package.
In terms of what happened to Leclerc, or
so what did Ferrari bring to Spain in terms of upgrade?
It was all weight saving. It was the floor upgrade. I mean, I don't think they didn't unveil their new side pods this weekend. I think we got the new paint, which I don't think anyone even noticed. I think that as well. Who was it? Someone from Ferrari said it wasn't actually a defect in the parts, so it wasn't like a manufacturing issue, which would then indicate that if there was any sort of they're not going to try. I can't imagine they're doing any weight saving on the turbo and MGUH, but even if they were, it says what they're saying says to me that it wasn't that anyway. It wasn't a manufacturing default at that stage. So possibly overheating. I don't know. We'll wait and see. I'm sure we'll know in a couple of days' time what actually happened.
The failure in the Ferrari allowing Max Verstappen to claw that time back and take. Well, it was Perez actually, wasn't it, that actually took the lead?
Yeah. Who do you want to tackle first, Perez or Verstappen? Because both they both have an interesting story as to what happened this weekend.
There is, and their story intertwined at one stage, which we'll
It
talk
did,
about
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Let's talk about Verstappen and his angry racing and DRS failures.
Yeah, that was funny. I thought he was he was being told by the pit wall to stop hitting the DRS button as much, because they're saying that you're closing it yourself. Like,
Yeah, no,
it turns out he wasn't.
Right, yeah, that's what I was thinking. That wasn't confirmed. That was actually him closing it. Yeah.
There's okay, well, let's hang on before we talk about the DRS part. Look, he had a fairly stable race. I mean, he had the spin out, same as Sainz on turn 4 with the gust of wind. Didn't obviously impact him as badly as it did Sainz. I mean, obviously Sainz dropped back to, I think I want to say 14th or 15th or something like that at one stage after that spin on turn 4. Max didn't suffer quite as bad as that. But unfortunately did end up behind George Russell, which frustrated him to no end. But phenomenal drive from George Russell as well. But accompanied by being behind a slightly improved Mercedes, or a very improved Mercedes, should I say. You also had then his issues compounded by the fact that, the DRS wasn't working either, or intermittently working.
Angry Max is, or racing angry is what Sky Sports said, and he does some phenomenal racing when he's got that aggression and that anger in him, doesn't he?
Yeah, sure. He was going for moves on areas of the track that you don't usually see. It was great. I've heard as well some issues about, or some sort of information as to why the DRS wasn't working, and they were talking about the pivot pins. I don't want to go too much into this because it's not actually that exciting, but it's a bit weird what happened. So on the Saturday, they had to replace the pivot pins. So the DRS didn't work on the Saturday either for qualifying. It was intermittent, which is what caused Max obviously not to have the opportunity to challenge Leclerc for that pole position. Although I don't think he would have got there anyway. Yeah. But so after the race, then the pivot pins, amongst a few other little bits and pieces, were changed on the car. And the pivot pins are basically what the DRS flap in the rear wing, as it says itself, pivots on. So when the actuator is engaged, the flap opens and the pivot pins are what holds it in place on towards the end boards. Yeah. But so they had to be replaced, and they reckoned that because they were doing some weight saving, that they've obviously they've possibly tried to save weight on things like simple things like pins and stuff like that. And as a result, it's caused some sort of binding on the flap, which is causing it to not work correctly. Now, and that's by a few people that would have a fairly good technical knowledge of Formula One. But I want to throw my own spanner in the works here on that one. Excellent. Because so that's all well and good if the pivot pins are binding. Jesus, that's a tongue twister. But what was happening was, if I recall, the DRS flap wasn't working mostly on the pit straight, so in the first DRS zone. The second DRS zone, the DRS seemed to work, I think, nearly all the time. Mm-hmm. So the first DRS zone, as far as I know, was a headwind, and the second DRS zone was a tailwind. Right. All right. So, I mean, you might say, well, okay, the tailwind was assisting. I don't know. But the point is, you also had on the straight where the flap was engaging, opening correctly at the detection point, but then instantly closing again, like literally fractions of a second, like opened and closed. Yeah. My understanding, like if that was the pivot, like that's mechanical. There was no electronics there glitching or anything like that. So the pivot pins, if they were binding, it wouldn't up and then suddenly flap down. It would make sense that it was binding if it just wasn't opening. Yeah. But the fact that it was opening and closing instantly, I throw doubt over the pivot pins being the issue. My thought was that there was a problem with the actuator. Now, I'll be honest, I had to actually look at, I don't know the full details of how the actuator works. I know it's hydraulic based, but I don't know how much that's connected in with the rest of the hydraulic system on the car. So my thought was that there was actually a weakening in possibly the hydraulics for the actuator. And as a result that's why on the DRS zone 2, the flap was engaging, because there was less pressure on the actuator to actually lift up the DRS flap, if that makes sense. Whereas when you were going into the headwind, the actuator needed more, there was more strength required from the actuator to actually lift the flap and engage the flap. So I just, that was my own, that's what I thought was going on, and that's why it was kind of, when it was a headwind, it wasn't able to open, or and then when it was opening and flapping up and down, maybe there was again the wind issue, gusts of wind and stuff like that. I don't know. It's all a bit of a mystery. So I think everybody has a few theories as to what was going on that.
Yeah, it sounds like a solid enough theory, in fairness.
So
I mean, it didn't. Well, obviously he was behind Russell for a little bit longer than he actually wanted to be, but in the end, it didn't really end up hindering him, and that angry racing took over, and a beautiful move around Russell. I can't remember what turn it was, but it was definitely one that was not expected to be for him to take Russell on, to be honest.
No, it was great, and when he tried to take Russell into turn 1, and then Russell was battling back through turns 2 and 3, I was like, this is great, and it was great to see that it was a Mercedes as well. That okay, we knew they didn't have, like, he wasn't going to be able to hold them off forever, but it was still nice to see, and I suppose. There was I suppose it looked a little bit better for George Russell than it actually was, because of the lack of DRS from Verstappen. He wasn't able to catch Russell as quick or get that extra horsepower down, or the extra kilometers an hour down that pit straight to do the overtake easier. Because if he had DRS, I mean, he would have overtaken him, like probably on the second or third lap that he was behind him. I don't think there was going to be any issue. But look, he did a solid drive with the DRS issue. He lost his head for a while, regained composure, and look, he took the win. And I don't think he deserved the win, but he took the win anyway. And
when you look at Max and Checo, the teammates that they are on the grid, that partnership that they have, they complement each other so well in their driving style, and how Checo takes the team orders. We're going to get into it. Do you think there's any other team on the grid that has as perfect a dynamic as Red Bull has at the moment?
I think the last lineup like that was Hamilton and Bottas. Yeah, I mean, that was clearly, Bottas was a team player. Had his moments where he felt he deserved a win and would challenge for it, but largely was a team player. Yeah. Don't think at the moment there's any driver pairing on the grid that is like that. Other than Max and Checo. But I think that one, especially this season for Checo anyway, I think it's a little bit unjust, I think.
Yeah, so he was asked to basically move over and let Max through. Now the strategy that they were both, the strategies that they were both on, would have had Max eventually overtaking Checo anyway, I think, wouldn't it?
Yeah, possibly, but I think that's sort of irrelevant in the sense that, I mean, if we look at the driver's standings after this race, now, so just take it as it sits at the moment, I think there's 25 points between Max and Checo. So you're talking one race win. Like, so if theoretically Max doesn't get to DNF in Monaco, Perez wins the race, the two of them now are neck and neck on points. All right. So I think this race, I think it was way too early to make that call that you're sort of saying you're here to support Max and that's it. Because I think he should have been allowed wrestle for that win. I think with the DRS he had as well, I think would have made it interesting. I think just I thought it was very unfair. I thought also from Perez's point of view, he must be thinking like, why am I here? Like, I mean, okay, maybe what's the point? Like, maybe in his contract talks with Red Bull, they said they were clear and said, look, we need a number 2 and we need someone who's going to support this team. And that's it. We don't want someone here to upset the balance. Yeah. But I think he's a better driver than that. He's got a better car under him than that. And I think at this stage of the season, I don't think there's any reason why he shouldn't have been allowed to go for that victory, especially, like I said, with only 25 points between them now at the moment. One DNF from Max and a win from Checo, or even just a second place or something, a podium. He's going to be right up there, almost neck and neck with Max on points. And then what do you do? And say with the reliability issues that Red Bull are having, what happens if Max gets another DNF later on in the season? And we'll just say, just theoretically or hypothetically speaking, Perez overtakes Max in the next sort of 5 races, we'll say, in the driver standings. Are you still just going to tell Perez to, pull over and let Max pass? Like, at what point do you kind of go, okay, either of these guys could win either a race or the title for us? I didn't agree with it. Now I have to say I was a bit kind of I was a bit annoyed now when I saw that. I have to say,
bit of a bad taste. Do you think it actually shows Red Bull's hand a little bit that they're looking around them and going, okay, Ferrari are super strong, and now Mercedes are looking a little bit better this weekend. Do you think it was more fear that they wanted to put Verstappen out there? Like, Verstappen is clearly ahead at the moment in terms of they needed Verstappen to get ahead of Leclerc on the standings, and they want to push him ahead there. They're a bit fearful about what Ferrari can do.
Yeah, I mean, there was probably a little bit of playing the odds. I mean, based off last season, I mean, look, it's the only data they have to go on at the moment. So they're playing the odds and sort of saying, well, look, there's more likelihood that Max is going to win more races than Perez. Yeah. So let's give him the preferential treatment. But I don't know. I don't like it now, I have to say. I at this stage I don't like it. I don't think it was the right call. But all it does show is, well, what we already knew, in fairness. Red Bull are ruthless with they're ruthless with number 2 drivers. I mean, yes, when you think of number 1 drivers they had, I mean, they had Sebastian Vettel and stuff like that. And like, he was going, well, obviously he left on his own accord, but he was going nowhere. Max Verstappen, I mean, they're never going to, I think he could have a completely shit season and they're still not getting rid of him. No, but I mean, look how many drivers they went through in the last couple of years. I mean, they just churned through them. I mean, some drivers only got a couple of races and they were given the axe and they were pulling guys up out of the academy or from the B team or something like that, Look, it is what it is. Max got the win. Perez got second. Still a great result for Perez, and it keeps him. He's not, like I said, he's only 25 points away from Max. So if he keeps putting in those performances, I hope. I love Max and love to see him win, but based off that, I do hope that Perez starts giving Red Bull some questions to answer.
Yeah. Well, I hope so too. And speaking of number 2 drivers, Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes.
Nice.
I had to get that in there. The first lap of the race, first corner, was it corner number 1? No, it wasn't.
No, it was turn 3, wasn't it?
Turn 3, yeah. Kevin Magnussen was taking him on the outside, and it looked a little bit suspicious, that move.
Okay, I still haven't seen the onboard of that. Now, I've heard through the grapevine of the WhatsApp group that there was onboard footage, and it showed Lewis maybe being a little bit over aggressive in terms of track position. I didn't see that. For me, it looked like a racing incident that possibly K-Mag should have been a little bit more aware of what would have happened. I mean, he was on the outside of the track. Every driver is going to squeeze you.
Yes, absolutely.
They're going to squeeze you for the exit of that corner. So he should have been aware of that. I don't think. I mean, we did see cars overtaken around turn 3 throughout the race. But I don't think K-Mag had that. I wouldn't be sitting here now kind of going, oh yeah, he had that nailed on. He was going to take that corner. I think I think it was a racing incident, and I don't think there's much more to be said about it really.
Yeah. Okay. We'll leave that one alone then. But he managed to get himself back to the pits. He had a slow puncture. He at one stage it looked like he was saying that he wanted to retire the car, or the best option would be to retire the car. Let's save this engine. And Mercedes turned around and said, "No, we're pretty sure you can get points today. P8 finish is what we're looking at." And they managed to get him back out in the track again, and he got a P5 in the end, which was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was a great drive.
Unbelievable.
I would have. I don't know who you were voting for, or who you would vote for driver of the day. I'd have given it to either Russell or Lewis Hamilton, the driver of the day, I think. So to talk about Lewis Hamilton, about asking to retire the car, asking the team to save the engine. If he was driving a Williams, a Williams are back there anyway, so it makes no difference. Sorry, that's a bit of a stupid fucking point. But if he was driving a car that wasn't going to be challenging for the points anyway, fair enough. And you know that you were in a points winning position that you didn't expect to be in, and then you ended up at the back of the grid. I can understand being disheartened there and just kind of go, oh look, save the engine, let's get out of here and we'll do it another day. I get it. But for Lewis Hamilton, we've often seen him at the back of the grid, whether it's from punctures or accidents or spins or whatever, and he ends up down the back of the grid and he works his way through the pack. Like we've seen that over the time he's been with Mercedes. We've seen that. I wouldn't even be able to count. It's happened. Like it's happened loads. Like, or maybe not right from the back, but certainly outside of the points. Yeah. So it sort of shows his mentality and his thought process towards this car. Even though he was saying that he's much happier with it at the moment, it does show still that he doesn't have the comfort level there with it. Yeah. But because that's not the Lewis Hamilton that I think everybody has been watching over the last few years. Like he would have seen that as a challenge, and we would have watched him carve his way through the pack, which is what happened in the end anyway. Yeah. So yeah, a bit worrying, but I think the fact though that he stuck with it, got the P5, that'll do the confidence absolutely the world of good. And I think that'll probably be the last time he does that. I think he'll realize now, hang on, we have like. I thought we had a dog of a car that wasn't going to even get me into the points, but we do. Like, so even if he ends up at the back of the grid in a future race, I think he'll know that he has the car to do it now.
Yeah, it's so promising from work. I mean, when you look at how Russell performed, and then how Hamilton managed to claw his way back, if that spin out hadn't happened on the first, it was the first lap, wasn't it?
Yeah, first lap.
If it hadn't happened on the first lap, we could have seen possibly Hamilton on the podium as well.
Yeah, I think I saw an interview with Hamilton saying that he would have been fighting for the win. Now, I think that might have been a little bit over ambitious, especially if Leclerc had stayed on the. Like if we're talking hypotheticals here,
we have to go full hypothetical.
Full hypothetical. Like if Leclerc was still on the track, Verstappen's DRS wasn't knackered. He may have still. Well, I don't even think he would have got on the podium. I think it would have been Leclerc, Verstappen, and Perez. But still, a great performance from Mercedes. Absolute gigantic step forward in their progression with this car.
Mm.
I think we'll see some more, sort of a next batch of major upgrades come in Canada, I think. Obviously, there'll be little ones out throughout the season, but I think then there'll be another major one in Canada for everybody. And yeah, so we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. So we're two races away then from another possible Merc upgrade. The improvements that we've seen in Merc, did you expect it to be this drastic?
No. Yes and no, I suppose. Yes, because we saw in free practice 2 in Miami that they had but they had very little porpoising. And then everybody was wondering what happened between FP2 on the Friday and FP3 and qualifying on the Saturday in Miami, where the porpoising came back and it was horrific. And the performance just dropped completely. So I think we said it before already that we thought they were trying to find a middle ground between the two. So I think they got a lot of information from that race, and then they brought some more tweaks based off that. So what they brought wasn't like, I think it was a major upgrade in terms of what it provided for them, but in terms of the actual, I suppose from the visual side of it, it wasn't a major upgrade, but it certainly was a stepping stone. Or sorry, Miami was definitely a stepping stone to what we saw this weekend.
Yeah.
So now how that means they're going to perform in the next couple of races. Monaco, possibly not too much of a, I don't think that will be a circuit that will affect their car too much. So we might see a good performance in Monaco from them.
Yeah. So
hint, hint,
all
wink,
about
wink.
Yeah. All right. Okay. It's all right. Okay. Just looking at my predictions there. It's all about track position in Monaco, isn't it? Really. I mean, we'll get into. Obviously, we'll talk.
Yeah, we'll talk about Monaco at the end. Yeah.
But yeah, look, I'm hopeful for Mercedes. It looks a hell of a lot better. And speaking of Mercedes, Valtteri Bottas got his arse out last week. And he got his elbows out this weekend as well. Fantastic weekend for the Finn. He was unbelievable. Do you think he's overachieving in this car? I know Zhou is a rookie, but do you think he's overachieving in the Alfa Romeo?
Maybe a little bit. I think maybe he's punching a little bit above their weight. But that's hard to say, though, isn't it? I mean, I'm saying that, and then of course you could contradict yourself there by saying, well, I mean, obviously the car can achieve that. You just needed the driver to unlock it. But I think you've got a driver there that's got a point to prove. He knows that their main rivals at the moment are Mercedes. He's constantly in and around the battle with Hamilton, from qualifying to race pace. Felt sorry for him this weekend, though. I thought he deserved better. I think they got it wrong on the final stint. I think, when everybody else was on fresher tires, he's running around there on, what may as well have been shopping trolley wheels. There was nothing left on them. So, so I felt a bit sorry. I think he did deserve a bit more than what he got. But look, I think still, even what he's achieving this season for Alpha is great, and I'd say he's delighted as well, because it could easily have gone the opposite way when he left Mercedes. But I think it's all positive for him, isn't it? I mean, he's left Mercedes thinking, I'm leaving a team that is dominating, and now he's looking back at that team thinking, wow, that's rough times. Whereas Alpha have at least been fairly consistent for him.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, they've got 39 points this season already, and it's largely to do with how he's performing. They'll be delighted with that move as well. Absolutely brilliant for them. So mapping up the rest, Dave, we'll have a look at some of the rest of the grid. Haas, Ditterly. Let's take that again. Let's have a look at the rest of the grid then, Dave. Haas will be bitterly disappointed. Mick Schumacher looking good for some points at one stage, but the pace just completely seemed to drop off from at one stage, didn't it?
Yeah, I was disappointed with how that ended for him. He,
Mm.
I thought when I was looking at it, he was on. I think he was on. He must have started. Well, no, he must have. He stopped around the same time as the cars in front. I think he was 12th at that point, and then the sort of the 4 or 5 cars in front of him were all on soft tires, and he was on the medium compound. But they were all on sort of anywhere between 7, 8, and 9 lap old tires.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, you know, if he can stay with them to some degree on the time for time, then when they come in, because those tires were going to go off by the end of the race. The soft tires were going to go off by the end of the race. I thought he might be able to stick it out till the end of the race on his medium compounds, and when they come in for their final pit stops, I kind of had a feeling. I thought he may have been able to get 8th, 7th, 8th place. Probably 8th was maybe more achievable, but he just couldn't keep up with the guys on the soft compound. The traffic that they had wasn't really impacting them at all, so they were still putting in fast lap times, and he just started. He was at I think he was 3 seconds adrift at one stage, and then he just started dropping back and back and back. And I think by the time the pit stops came, I know he could have been maybe close to 12 seconds, I think, adrift of the car in front. So by the time they had made their pit stops and came back out on brand new soft compounds, he was only 4 or 5 seconds up the road, which he was a sitting duck. So that's whether that was it was a combination of bad strategy, maybe bad tire strategy, and also maybe his driving. I think maybe he should have done better with that. I think I'll lay some of the blame on him for that one.
Yeah. And again, the old ticking clock is in the corner there, ticking away.
And K-Mag as well. Sorry, before we move on from Haas, he had after his spin, they put him on hard compound tire, which clearly were not the right compound to be on. No. He finished. I think the only one was it Albon that finished behind, or was it Latifi?
Yeah, no, Albon. Yeah.
So you're in that Haas.
Yeah.
I mean, Hamilton made it up to P5. Now, I'm not expecting the Haas to have been up there in P5 either, but he should have been in the points. He should have, there's no reason why he shouldn't have been. So I think maybe the hard compound tire gamble didn't pay off. And then rather than realize this was the wrong tire to be on and make another pit stop, they just doubled down, and whether they were hoping for a safety car or they thought, you know what, let's try and go as long as possible on this tire and try and do one less stop. It just didn't work at all. It was terrible. Really disappointed with that at all.
Yeah, bad weekend for Haas. And another so weekend for the AlphaTauri boys. Nothing really setting the world on fire there at AlphaTauri, is there?
Absolutely, there's nothing.
It's gone flat.
They're nearly anonymous in the race at times lately. Other than occasionally holding up Lewis Hamilton in certain races, they've just been anonymous. I mean, they're not doing bad. I mean, they're still getting points finishes here and there. I mean, this weekend obviously wasn't great for them, but that it. There's not much to say about them.
Other than turning Lando Norris literally into a basketball, I don't think I've heard anyone talk about Pierre Gasly this season. And when you look back at last season, it's unbelievable the difference. It's like two different drivers.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
You often wonder what's happening in the team. Is it just the car, the mentality? Is it what's happening? But look, hopefully we'll see something from them over the next couple of races, because they have great potential, that team.
Yeah, absolutely. But overall, Dave, quite an exciting race with some great back and forths, and Mercedes showing some strength, and Red Bull getting their tactics just right.
Let's not forget about Aston Martin.
Oh, Lord. Okay, let's talk about Aston Martin.
But we can't move on without having it. I'll try and make this a quick 5-minute. rant about Aston Martin.
I was going to let them off the hook, but okay.
No, I like when I first saw it, the new side pods on the floor.
Yeah.
I wasn't as worked up as everybody else was. Everyone else, oh my god, they were talking about the pink Mercedes and all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I wasn't as worked up because I was kind of like, you know what, they've seen what works on another car and they've done it. Then the guys from Aston Martin came out and says, oh no, well, this has been in works for months. And you're like, okay. And then of course Christian Horner comes out and kind of goes, well, we've only shown it recently. So if they've had it in works for months, they've been working on our design before it was actually publicly visible.
Yeah.
So they haven't reverse engineered it from photos and video footage that they've seen. Now, the FIA have obviously done their investigation, and they saying that the technical director, was it, who went from, or one of the engineer guys that went from Red Bull to Aston Martin, they've obviously done their investigation into that and saying that there was no foul play there. Also, Aston Martin have kind of come out with photos of that B-spec in the wind tunnel and stuff like that, where they are supposedly proving that they had been working on it some time ago. Sometime before the guy from Aston Martin, before the guy from Red Bull had joined Aston Martin. So what they were trying to prove to the FIA was he didn't bring any knowledge with him. We were already working on this. Now, that's utter bullshit. I mean, I don't care what investigation you're doing. They are identical. There is no way you're telling me that the two teams have accidentally landed the identical side pods, and the floor, bar some of the angles of the edging, the floors are almost identical as well. Oh, and the wing mirrors as well are identical. So I'll be honest, if something doesn't come from this, the FIA are not doing their job correctly. And if they're not doing their job correctly on this, we look at what we're talking about earlier about budget caps and stuff like that being enforced and how they're supposedly being enforced. Like, if they can't call bullshit on this story, then I find it hard to believe they're going to even be able to police things like the budget cap correctly. So I'll be honest, I think Aston Martin are in trouble on this one. I think they've done something has been done here untoward, and they're going to get found out for it.
Yeah, it didn't seem to help them much in the race either. Vettel 11 and Stroll way down in 15th, and their qualifying times didn't seem any better than usual either. So
no, actually, it was funny. I was watching Breaking Bad, and sorry, this is it is relevant. Obviously, honestly, I'm not just doing a review of Breaking Bad here. I was watching Breaking Bad, and Mike in Breaking Bad. And he said, just because you shot Jesse James doesn't make you Jesse James. And I was like, I was just like, that's applicable to Aston Martin at the moment. Just because you stole the Red Bull's car doesn't mean you're a Red Bull car.
Yeah. It's it's undeniable the similarities there. And as you say, there's going to be repercussions for that. There has to be.
I mean, you've literally turned, like, there's no room for in their design, in Aston Martin's design. There's not even, you couldn't even say they have the basic foundation of the side pod that has a similarity. Has a similarity to Red Bull, but the rest of it is obviously Aston Martin. Their own work, so you couldn't say, okay, it has a similar foundation, similar structure, but there's a lot of different kind of dips and curves and whatever that obviously Aston Martin have developed themselves. They're identical. I mean, they are literally, it's like they've taken it off the Red Bull, spray painted it, and stuck it on their car. So and the worst thing is that they shouldn't have said anything, because they've made it worse by coming out saying that we were working on this months before. And then said that here's proof of it in our wind tunnel before the guy from Red Bull even made it to us. So you're like, well, then how did this happen? There is no way you've both accidentally made the identical side pods, wings, and floors.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so someone's bullshitting, and someone has to be held accountable for that, big time.
Yeah, I'm sure it's something that we'll come back to in the very near future.
Oh, no doubt.
Overall, Dave, what are your thoughts on the Spanish Grand Prix and where it ranks this year? Why did we not rank it, but what did you think of it overall?
Oh, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean,
Mm.
considering this was going to be a race where everyone was expecting an absolute dull fest,
Yeah,
I think it was great. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to rank it. I mean, it definitely surprised me. Whether I would have, yeah, I think even without the incidences with the engine, the reliability issues and stuff like that, I think we still would have possibly been in for an exciting race. So yeah, great. I think though, axe that chicane and go back to the old corner.
absolutely. Yeah,
And I think
100%.
we're on to a winner.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Okay, I think it's about time now to move on. Dave, do you want to get on to our predictions and how they fared out for Barcelona?
Well, before we go to the predictions, what are you making? What are you expecting from Monaco this weekend? Anyway, are you expecting a good race, or are we expecting just a 20-car train zipping around Monaco for doing an exhibition lap?
You could hear by my sigh that I'm
That's what you're expecting.
Yeah, traffic.
Now, for those who haven't done their the old Google search for the weather forecast for Monaco this weekend, we have a 70% chance of rain on the Sunday. So that, and a 40% chance of rain on the Saturday. So that could spice things up a little bit.
Monaco definitely needs it. It needs something like that.
I think it needs though alternating. Do you know what I mean? Like they need a sort of a rain just before the start of the race, then a drying track where it's kind of like, okay, is it time for slicks? Is it time for slicks? And then you get someone comes in too early for slicks and they're all over the fucking show trying to, and the safety car. Then now you're in you're in an absolute chaotic Monaco race. So it definitely needs a drying track with the chance of further rain.
That
then we're on to a winner.
Yeah, the rain it definitely adds something to the mix, because otherwise it really would be a procession, I think, anyway. But
yeah.
All
right. Well, then
we'll see.
Predictions then.
Right.
I think I went first last time. Did I?
Yes, I think you did. Yeah. And even if you didn't, I'll go first then. So we will look at our top three.
Oh well, hang on a second. We haven't gone through our predictions from.
Barcelona top
three.
Barcelona.
Sorry, everybody. I am way ahead of myself. I'm excited about Monaco predictions here. I forgot.
Relax.
Calm the fuck down.
Okay, so my top three for Barcelona were number 1, Max Verstappen. Yep, which came out, which is good.
Yeah.
Number 2, I said Charles Leclerc, which did not happen, and then I said Perez, number 3. So I pick up a point there for the Max Verstappen win. Thankfully, I got myself a point. Oh yeah.
Oh, this has gone all kinds of wrong for me this week.
It really has, yeah.
All right, I had Leclerc to win, which would have happened, but it didn't. Yeah. I had Verstappen second. Would have happened, but didn't. And Perez in third. Again, would have happened, but didn't. So a big goose egg for me.
Nothing. So I'm 1-0 up in for today already, which is good.
Yeah.
Okay. So my flop for Barcelona was no, we haven't got to the point yet of saying exactly why this was just a flop. Or not.
The old rules still apply here.
Yeah, they're having a bit of a change up this week. So I had said Lance Stroll to flop, and flippity floppy he did. Yeah, in his brand new Red Bull. Aston Martin.
Yep.
So I get a point there as well. Who was your flop?
Carlos Sainz. And he could have been. I thought he was going to be beached first when he went off. I was like, he's beached. And I was ready to come on this podcast gloating. Just exactly what I predicted would happen happened. But it wasn't to be. He recovered it and finished fourth. So that's another goose egg for me.
Yeah, not good. Now we both predicted the exact same surprise for this week, so we both said Lando Norris. Uh,
Yeah,
let's discuss it. He ended up in the top 10,
he did. Yeah,
and
actually,
then
go on.
go on. Yeah, no, go on. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say he actually did well. He was sick all weekend. Apparently, he was very ill all weekend. So the
Oh,
fact that he
right.
finished in the top 10 was a credit to him.
Yeah, yeah. I actually didn't notice Lando that much throughout the race, to be honest.
He probably didn't
Um,
even notice himself by the sounds of things either.
yeah, poor lad. But we went on to predict then the position that he would
Yeah.
finish. And
Are
what
you
did you?
are you just teasing this out because you know what's
Ah, yes,
I
finally, I'm winning.
I went P5
Yep, and I said P7, and he
and
finished
it was P8.
P8, which means that I get another
Another
point.
goose egg for me.
Woo! Excellent. So that means overall this week I have finished with 3 points, and you have finished with what? 0.
Let me total it up. Yeah, that's right. 0.
Whoa, a washout for you there, Dave. For finally,
I know.
finally, I get another win on the board. Oh, thank God.
But I could have been a hero on that one.
Yeah,
I
in
mean,
fairness, you were
Leclerc
close.
and Verstappen without the issues, that top 3 is happening. And if
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
Sainz had just gotten beached on that gravel, I'm a hero. Like, I mean, I'm literally walking in here with a cape flying out the back of me.
You can't do that 2 weeks in a row. Now, you did it the week before for Miami. You called it so well. Yeah, it was just too perfect. But
Oh,
yeah,
well.
you can't have it 2 weeks in a row. So let's have a little chat about Monaco then. Will we go for it?
Yeah, all right. Do we want to do, will we go one each? So
Okay,
P1s, then P2, then P3?
Well,
Or-
no, that opens us up to changing our 1, 2, 3, doesn't it? Really?
Well,
Rather than
not
just
really. I mean, no more so than if you read out or I read out 1, 2, 3, and then you just decide, oh yeah, I like the sound of that. Oh yeah, I have the
Okay.
same as well.
Okay, all
Let's
right,
just
okay.
trust each other that we're not going to fuck each other over.
Okay, so I have mine written down here anyway.
All right, I'll go first, and I'll trust you that you're not going to absolutely.
I'm not. We're not going to have the same P1. I know we're not because of the way you were talking earlier on. So who's your P1?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe you might have got the wrong
Oh,
end
right,
of the deal.
okay.
My P1 is Max Verstappen.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I didn't get the wrong end of the deal. I went with P1 Charles Leclerc. And I know you didn't because by the way you were talking. So I went
All right.
one Leclerc. Do you want to put them in there?
Oh, sorry. All right. Okay, so
I can't type as fast as you.
Sweet Jesus. Well, as I'm typing into the wrong part of the. All right, so Max, and you are going for El Charlie.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so my P2 is Perez.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
I went P2 Max.
All right.
Yeah.
This is where it gets interesting.
Oh man, if you now does your surprise link up with your position here? No? Your
Nope.
P3? No. Okay. All
right.
So who's your P3? Go for it.
My P3 is Hamilton.
Oh, that's not my P3. I went for Russell, but why did you say Hamilton?
All right, so I'm going with Hamilton because I don't like he knows this track really well. Monaco, if it's wet, he's good in the wet on this track, and that car I don't think is going to be hindered by the issues that because they fix so much of like the porpoising, the handling and stuff like that going into Barcelona. I think there's going to be even less of an issue in Monaco. So I think that car should handle quite well around Monaco for them. So
Right.
I think if it rains, I think I'll be honest. I was going to creep him up higher in my top 3, but I thought let's not go too crazy here.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm going to keep him at P3.
A proper punt, yeah. So
Yeah.
I went Russell kind of for similar reasons. I think that car is vastly improved. I think it's going to improve again. And I think Russell is great in the wet as well.
Yeah.
He had a great performance in, was it Spa last year?
Yeah.
Where he took a podium, although there was under 25% of the race was raced. But
Oh wait, hang on. You talk about Norris or sorry?
Russell.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, yes. Sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong. No, Norris crashed out on that. Sorry.
He did, yeah. No, Russell took a podium there.
That's right, yeah.
So that's the reason I went for Russell.
All right, here's the flop.
Okay.
I really want to do surprise first, but we'll do the flop because it's the order we do things in here.
Okay, and now the new rules apply from this week.
So flops and surprise. If this is hard to explain to somebody, but if it's a drive, you have to justify your flop and your surprise.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
let's just keep it as simple as that. I think
as easy as it goes. Yeah. All right, go on.
Some of them might be self-explanatory, but
yeah. You don't need to explain them then if they are self-explanatory. But
all right, do you want to? Okay, here we go. Are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
Leclerc.
Oh. That's who I thought you were going to go for when you were talking about him earlier on.
It's for the same reason I went with Sainz as a flop in Barcelona. I see he's just cursed at this track from like 2017. Every fucking time something happens to him.
Yeah.
So I just think he's cursed. That will be in his mind.
Yeah.
He'll know he has bad luck here. It's his home race, so he'll want to do well. And if we have unsettled conditions for the race, I mean, it could be a very difficult race for him. So it's a punt, but I have a feeling he could punt it into a wall.
I can see where you're coming from with that. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and it's very, very possible.
Okay, who's your flop then?
I
hope it's something good. Don't give me something. Don't give me a Latifi now or something.
No. I went for his teammate Carlos Sainz.
Oh,
and I went for a DNF, and I'm going for a crash.
DNF. Okay.
Yeah, wet weather. Carlos Sainz crash. I think it's coming.
Well, that's basically what I've gone for as well, a DNF crash. So I'll just put that beside mine then. So, was I going for a DNF crash? I suppose I was, I guess. I didn't actually consider that he might spin it and recover it. I think I thought he'd knock a wheel off. So
I think you're going into a wall at Monaco. I don't think there's any recovery.
Yeah.
It's too unforgiving.
So my surprise, it's a bit safe maybe, but I mean, it's I'll justify it anyway. Lando Norris.
Oh my fucking God.
So I'm going Lando Norris and I'm going P5.
Oh.
I think I'm hoping for rain and a wet Monaco.
You can't see it.
No, but I'm guessing from your reaction that your surprise is also Lando Norris.
It is. I went P4 though.
Wow, P4. Do you know, actually, I had originally put him in P4, but I was like, hang on, I've got Hamilton P3. Surely Russell's going to finish P4.
Yeah.
So I was, all right, P4. Wow.
So I'm going, P4. Again, rain. I think he's fantastic in the rain. And, he likes Monaco. He's got a win here. He won here. He didn't have a win. Sorry. He came P3, I think, last year.
All right. Well, so I've got Max to win, Perez second, Hamilton third. Mm-hmm. You've got Charles to win, Max second, and Russell third. So that's an interesting podiums there. Very different podiums as well, apart from Max, obviously. Then flop, I've got Leclerc DNF crash. And ironically, then you've got another Ferrari and Sainz DNF crash.
Poor old Ferrari.
We're not really for guys who are competing for the world title here. We're not really giving them much credit. And then our surprise, both Lando Norris, P5 for me and P4 for you.
Beautiful. Summed it up. Put a bow on it, Dave.
That's it. It's done. And as that is done, that is the end of this week's episode as well. So we'll be back next week with a full race review of the Monaco GP. Hopefully it's an exciting one and not a snooze fest. As always, though, if you want to get in touch with your own questions, comments, corrections, send them on to feedback@latenightracereview.com or anywhere you see us on social media. Until next week.